politics, economy, and development in Nigeria and around the world. In this video, in this live, we're going to talk about the coup against President Bola Tinubu, led by 33 Northern officers, and the hypocrisy of the Nigerian media in calling it what it was or what it is, that it was a Northern coup against Tinubu. And then we're going to look at the implication of this for 2027, because that's what is unfolding before our eyes could have implications for 2027. We're going to look into that later, but first of all, we want to look at the hypocrisy. Thank you, Palome. Thank you. Good to see you. Good to see you. So we're going to look at the hypocrisy of the media in reporting the issue of the coup against President Bola Tinubu, addressing it as it's supposed to be, because it is important that we note the fact that this coup matter has a national implication, but it also exposes the bias in the Nigerian mainstream media. Going by the report from the Sahara Reporters, Sahara Reporters is giving us an insight into the composition of the coup plotters. And according to Sahara Reporters, it said that 35 military officers, including 33 Northerners, have been detained over alleged coup plot against Tinubu government. Now, that invariably makes it a Northern coup. And this is based on our history. If you look at the history of coups in Nigeria, coups are all oftentimes coined based on the composition of the coup plotters. There are still debates going on the so-called Igbo coups, Igbo coup of 1966. Now, why did some people call it Igbo coup, and why did the mainstream media in Nigeria to this day insist that it was an Igbo coup, even when one of the top military officers at that time, General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, who went on to become the head of state of Nigeria, in a recent memoir, said that it was not an Igbo coup at all. However, that has not changed the construct by the Nigerian mainstream media in coining it as an Igbo coup. And Babangida was not the first person to have denied that it was an Igbo coup. But a lot of people are looking at the composition of those who participated in 1966 coup, and they reached that conclusion that it was an Igbo coup. Now, if it was an Igbo coup, and the mainstream media describe it as an Igbo coup, why are they silent in describing the the October 1 coup against President Bola Tinubu as a Northern coup. I'll give you a clue to why they are silent on that angle, why they have not, the reason for their hypocrisy on this issue. But before I go further on that, it is important that we understand the story as uncovered by Sahara Reporters. I give Sahara Reporters a lot of credit because it was these same Sahara Reporters that on October 4th broke the story that there was a military coup, and that was denied both by the military headquarters and by the Nigerian government until recently, when the military authorities confirmed that indeed those that were detained were plotting coup against President Tinubu administration. So it is important that we give credit to who credit is due, the Sahara Reporters that broke the story on why President Bola Tinubu was absent at the Igbo Square on October 1st, 2025, saying it was based on the plot against his administration. And it has now been alleged that their plot was to assassinate the president, the vice president, the senate president, and the speaker, if they had succeeded. Okay, now this is what the Sahara Reporters are saying about the 35 people. You know, initially it was 16 people that were detained. Now we are made to understand that about 35 officers are presently in detention, by the military authorities that are going to face trial for the plot to overthrow a democratically elected government in Nigeria. According to Sahara Reporters, it said at least 35 Nigerian military officers are currently being detained over an alleged coup plot against the Bola Tinubu-led Nigerian government. He said that this is contrary to a claim by the defense headquarters on Monday that 16 officers were arrested and being investigated for allegedly involved in plotting to overthrow the government. The military authorities had in a statement said the indicted officers will be arraigned before military judicial panel. The statement titled Update on Disciplinary Cases involving 16 officers investigated for indiscipline, breach of service regulations, was signed by the Director of Defense Information, Major General Samaila Oba. It will be recalled that the Defense Headquarters issued a press statement on October 2025 regarding the arrest of 16 officers over the act of indiscipline and breach of service regulations. The statement said. However, according to Sahara Reporters, top military sources told Sahara Reporters that 35 military personnel, including 33 Northerners and an operative of a paramilitary organization, are currently being detained over the coup plot. Among the officers are an Army Brigadier General, 2 colonels, 5 lieutenant colonels, one wing commander, Air Force equivalent of a lieutenant colonel in the Army, 8 majors, 1 lieutenant commander, Navy equivalent of a major in the Army, 2 squadron leaders, Air Force equivalent of a major in the Army, 5 captains, and a lieutenant. Also in detention are 10 non-commissioned officers, which include a warrant officer, 5 sergeants, 1 corporal, and 2 lance corporals. The source revealed that one of the detained army captains, A. Yusuf, is from Osun State. A. Yusuf is from Osun State. He's the one of 2 persons that we are not Northerners. Another Southerner on the list is squadron leader Zuzu, a senior Air Force officer from Bayelsa State, while the 33 others are all from the northern part of the country, including the Federal Capital Territory. Okay? And the source that spoke to Sahara Reporters said that the defense headquarters are deceiving Nigerians, that is only 16 that were detained. Now, according to Sahara Reporters, the why we have to pay attention to Sahara Reporters sources is because Sahara Reporters were the people that broke the story that was denied last year, that the government has now come to accept as the truth. Now, this is what the sources or the source told Sahara Reporters. The defense headquarters keeps deceiving Nigerians. The total number of officers under detention are 35, Army, Navy, Air Force. While releasing a statement, again, claiming 16. So the source is questioning the defense headquarters release of just only 16 names. He said the defense headquarters keeps deceiving Nigerians. The total number of officers under detention are 35. Army, Navy, Air Force. While releasing a statement again claiming 16, it is glaring the military authorities are hiding something. We even learned that some of the arrested officers were forced to admit to the crime under duress just to suit the report they intend to submit to the president, one of the sources said. One of the sources said, and he added also, I want you to know that some of these military officers were invited from outside Nigeria, where they were doing different courses. Now, Sahara Reporters, to balance their story, said that they put a call to Major General Oba, but he did not pick nor return their call. And that WhatsApp message was sent to him and that he was yet to reply as at the time of filing this report. So that lays the background to the fact that those who led the coup to take out the administration of President Bola Tinubu, they are Northerners. And if the table were to have turned, if imagine that the 33 out of 35 officers were Igbos, many believe that the mainstream media in Nigeria would have coined it an Igbo coup against the Tinubu administration. And they would have blamed some prominent Igbo politicians of somehow being sympathetic to those who planned this attempt to disrupt our democracy. You know that our democracy was a well-fought democracy. For years, Nigeria had been locked down under military dictatorship, and that military dictatorship set this country aback several decades. And I keep saying it, if not for military interventions in our politics, Nigeria would have been rubbing shoulder today with countries like India, like China, like Indonesia, like Malaysia. But because of military interventions over the years in our politics, Nigeria today is a laughing stock in the Committee of Nations. And the military, when they came in 1966, they came to rescue the country from misgovernance by the civilian administration. But they ended up throwing this country into a bigger mess. You can also note that if not for the military coup in 1966, there would have been no civil war in 1967. 3 million people would not have died in that civil war. So it was the military's reckless intervention in our system that had put this country backward. However, the media also are complicit in this matter, because when the 66 coup happened, they didn't treat it as they are treating subsequent coups. Okay, they call it an Igbo coup. The counter coup that was led by T.Y. Dajima and Co. and Murtala Mohammed, they call it a Northern pushback. But since then, several other coups have taken place in Nigeria. The Nigerian mainstream media had been economic with the truth. So they no longer characterize coups according to the preponderance of the ethnic composition of the coup plotters. But many are still insisting, despite the fact that they try to manage this situation and not talk about the fact that these are preponderance of Northern officers and call it a Northern coup. They would have still done so if it were 33 officers from Southeast or the Igbo-speaking part of Nigeria that were involved in this coup. So that is for us to be able to understand how Nigerian politics and the media can collaborate, and they will cover up the story in such a way that it will suit those in authority at the time. Now, the big question, why is the Tinubu administration very comfortable with the coup not being characterized as a Northern coup against Tinubu? The real reason, in my thinking, is because Tinubu is very careful with the North. He is being very, very careful with the North. He don't want to offend them. So the mainstream media in Nigeria that are largely pro-Tinubu, you understand? The mainstream media in Nigeria, they are largely pro-Tinubu. They are largely pro the ruling APC. So they have to manage this situation In fact, for the past 2, 3 months, Obior, I've seen you. If I've seen you, whoa, but I've seen you. I've seen you. I've seen you. Happy weekend. I've seen you. So the mainstream media, they are playing to the way the government wants this matter to be handled, and that is to ensure that it downplays the fact that it was military, northern military officer that want to do this, that plotted this. But unfortunately for them, Sahara Reporters had been into this matter. And Sahara Reporters, even though it's an online media, is not a mainstream media. Of course, it had grown to the level that many may consider it mainstream, but Sahara Reporters is not a mainstream media. The mainstream media had been shy in calling this what it is, which is a northern push to take out Tinubu in October last year, October 1st last year. Of course, we know that there were some pockets of Southerners, but those Southerners were insignificant to the coup. For instance, there's this report that a Nollywood actor has been detained. That was the report by Premium Times in connection with the coup. That the guy used to be the chairman of Guild of Actors in Enugu State, but they say that he was implicated so that he would do propaganda after the coup might have succeeded. Okay, then you have the former governor of Bayelsa State, Timi Preseva, who was also alleged to have been a financier or contributed financially to the coup plot. He has denied it. Right now, he's not in the country, but it was widely reported in the media that his house was ransacked in Abuja and by the military authorities, and some of his aides are allegedly arrested by the military officers. Now, let us look at what are the implications of this coup attempt that failed. What are the implications for the coming election in 2027? What are the implications for the coming election? How is this coup of attempted coup a signpost of what is to come in the coming election? First of all, I want you to note that this coup was majorly done by northern officers. Also note, it was northerners that voted for Tinubu in 2023 election. If you look at the results that that the Independent National Electoral Commission used in declaring Tinubu the president, the bulk of the votes, about 63% of the votes that Tinubu used in becoming president came from the north, majorly from the northwest, northeast, and north central. Because you know that President Bola Tinubu himself was rejected in largely in southern Nigeria. In fact, Tinubu could not win any zone. He couldn't lock down even the southwest, his state, his zone, his southwest zone. Tinubu could not lock it down. Tinubu, out of the 6 states in the southwest, Tinubu lost 2. He lost Osun State to Atiku Abubakar of the PDP then, and lost Lagos State to Peter Obi of the Labour Party then. So you could see that even Southwest could not have given him the presidency. And if you look at this South Nigeria, you discover that Tinubu lost in 5 of the South states. It was only in Rivers State where he won a controversial Rivers State. Why did I say controversy over Rivers State? Rivers State was one of the South states. According to independent investigation by the BBC, using INEC IRIF data, it was actually Peter Obi of the Labour Party then that won Rivers State. The Premium Times also joined in the investigation, and in its own investigation, it also confirmed using INEC data that it was Peter Obi that won Rivers State. But somehow, INEC gave it to Tinubu, and Peter Obi went to court, went to the presidential election tribunal, and he was able to present proof that he won Rivers State. But the Supreme Court disagreed with him and said he did not win. But we have seen people come out to claim how they altered the result against Peter Obi's victory. But the issue is that Tinubu struggled in the South in 2023. He was only able to get that controversial Rivers State in the whole of the South. So how did he become president? For somebody who in the Southeast, that was a total disaster for Tinubu. Because in the Southeast, he couldn't get 25% in any state. So how did he manage to become president? Tinubu became president through the North. It was largely the vote from the Northwest, Northeast that they used in getting the number to be able to get him the 8.7 million votes with which INEC declared him the winner. So having laid the background for us to see that it was the North that made him president in 2023. If we disregard every other allegation that the election was manipulated and all that, just based on the data from INEC, it is obvious it was the North's over 60% votes that gave him the presidency. Now, if the North gave him 60% of that, over 60% of the vote, now you have Northern officers in the military trying to remove him from power. What is the implication of that? for the coming election. Is the Northern officers' plot an indication of the changing political dynamics in the North towards Tinubu? Will the North vote Tinubu out in 2027? And why does this coup incident matter in analyzing it? It is important because right now, according to a recent poll that was done by Malam Nasir El-Rufai, which he shared on national television, President Bola Tinubu is unpopular nationwide, but he's most unpopular in the North right now. Now, this coup plot, was it an indication of the grassroots disdain for the Tinubu administration, or just it has to do with ambitious military officers who want to just disorganize our democracy? If you go by what El-Rufai had been saying about the unpopularity of Tinubu nationwide, particularly in the North and in the Southeast, in which he told Channels Television that based on that, there is no pathway for Tinubu to be re-elected. Now, why is this important? The coup plotters, what they plotted to do, what they are alleged to have plotted to do, is it in sync with the mindset of the ordinary voter in the North? Because if it is in sync with the ordinary voter in the North, then Tinubu is in trouble in the coming election. Okay. Because it was the North that gave him the presidency. Now the people that wanted to take him out of power through an illegal coup, they are mostly Northerners. And Malam Nasir El-Rufai, a top Northern politician, said that an independent poll that they have seen or done indicate that Tinubu has the lowest approval rate in Nigeria's history, especially in the North and the Southeast. That is a red flag for Tinubu's re-election. That's what it means. That's a big red flag. And I think that is why the government of Tinubu is also doing everything possible to see how to manage the anger in the North, how to manage the anger in the North. Now, I will give you the reason why North is angry with Tinubu administration. I'm not talking about the coup plotters, I'm talking about the ordinary Northerners. The coup plotters may have their own agenda, but it's also part of the growing resentment as a result of how groups and individuals in the North are viewing the whole system right now. The coup plotters, what they embark on is an illegality. It's against the law. But what they have done, given their numbers, 33 from the North, and given the fact that it was the North that put Tinubu there as president through their votes, it should worry the presidency that he has to rejig his policy to be able to win the hearts and minds of the Northerners, those that made him president in 2023, so that they don't abandon him in 2027. I'm going to talk about I'm going to talk about the reason why the North is angry with Tinubu and why they don't want him to be re-elected in 2027, majority of them. But before I do that, if you are new to my channel, you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel, hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell. When you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, anytime I have a new video, you will be among the first to know. God bless you. Now, why is the North that made Tinubu president angry with him? Why are they angry with him? The truth of the matter is that the Tinubu's twin policy of removal of fuel subsidy and the flotation of the naira had destroyed the economy of Nigeria, increased poverty to the level never known before. So, because of the increase in poverty in the country, as a result of Tinubu's so-called economic reforms, poverty has gone exponential rate in the North. Before Tinubu came to power, North was the poorest part of the country. The poorest part of Nigeria is northeast, followed by northwest, followed by north center. Now, let me tell you about poverty in Nigeria as recorded by the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS. The poorest part of Nigeria is northeast, followed by northwest, followed by north central, followed by south-south, followed by southwest, and then least southeast. Now, the policy of removal of fuel subsidy, and the flotation of the naira has crippled the economy of Nigeria, and Northerners are feeling it most. And the situation is not ameliorating at all. I want to talk about the economy before I go into the security situation that is also at the heart of the Northern resentment of the Tinubu administration that is going to have impact in the coming election. Now, if you look at the price of fuel before Tinubu came to power, as at May 28, 2023, a day before Tinubu became president, a liter of fuel was less than 200 naira. Nigerian dollar, naira to the dollar, was 410 naira on the official window. In the black market, it was about 700 naira to the dollar. Today, you are talking about a dollar. A dollar is equivalent to about 1,500 naira. That has a lot of implication for the standard of living of Nigerians. So both the IMF and the World Bank, they have reached the conclusion that the reforms had brought poverty, had brought hardship. So where will it hit most? It will hit most the poorest part of the country. And the poorest part of the country is northwest, northeast, north central. Now, how do you expect the North, based on the suffering they are going through right now, to reward Tinubu in 2027 in a free and fair election? How do you expect them to do that? Just looking at the economy. looking at, or already people are saying that, okay, let me give you another example. You know that the North is the food basket of Nigeria, if you like, produces a lot of grains that we eat, the staple food, grains, rice, beans, onions, and all those things. Now, these northern farmers are passing through hell under Tinubu administration. Why? These northern farmers, despite the insecurity, those that manage to plant things are not smiling, because the Tinubu administration has flooded the country with imported food to crash food prices. But that is at the expense of the northern farmers who had borrowed money from the bank to buy inputs, to produce rice, to produce beans, and several other agricultural produce that are now competing with imported food from outside. That has impoverished northern farmers the more. Interestingly, and I want you to fact check me, despite the claim that the food prices are coming down, despite the importation, the food prices have not gone down to the level that Tinubu met them on May 29, 2023. So no matter how you say that they are crashing the food price, go and check. How much were you buying a bag of rice in 2023? And how much are you buying it today? Has the price of rice, a bag of rice, gotten down to the level it was under Buhari? It has not, despite the fact that they are flooding the market with imported rice, beans, and all kinds of agricultural produce. So that's crashing the price was not a sustainable solution. The sustainable solution is to provide incentives for farmers to grow the food we produce in Nigeria and eat Nigerian produced food. Now, so that is part of the things that will impact this election. The northern poverty, the northern impoverishment under the Tinubu administration. Somebody may ask and say, what of when a northerner was president? After all, Buhari was president for 8 years. Buhari was president for 8 years. Were there hardship in the country? But not to the level of what it is today. So to the mindset of the average northerner, Tinubu's government is worse than Buhari's government. No matter what IMF say, no matter the improvement assessment by the World Bank, it makes no sense to these people. What is important to them is their life, how they live on every day. How much can they be able to buy bread? How much can they buy a mudu of rice, a bag of rice, a bag of beans? How much are they buying millets? How much are they buying sugar? How much are they buying red oil, groundnut oil, all kinds of the everyday living? How much are they buying it? So those are the indicators of the northern anger. So that is why whatever you like, the government have to look at the implication of the anger in the ordinary northerner who has felt shortchanged that they supported Tinubu and they are suffering as a result of his government's policies. So it's a tough one for the government because they cannot go back. They cannot go back because already IMF and World Bank will not tolerate that. So they have to live with the reality that the North, I'm not talking about the officers. The officers, their own action was an illegal action, but it's also something that can also be interpreted from the general Northern perception of exclusion in the present Nigerian administration, which also many can argue that it is not really true that North is excluded. Northern elites are among the top members of this government. Okay? But the top members of this government from the North are not living the everyday reality of the Northerners, the ordinary voters. The Northern elites who are in government do not share in the pains of the ordinary Northerner. So that is why you begin to situate what is going on. Now, beside the economy, insecurity in the North has also increased more than ever before, to the level that farmers cannot go to farm. They cannot be able to go and cultivate their land. Even those that were able to cultivate, sometimes they can't even be allowed to harvest their crop without paying ransom to bandits and all kinds of things. And many communities are still living in the IDP camps. So these are clear signs that it is difficult for Tinubu to carry the North like he did in 2023, in 2027. That is the truth. That is basically the truth. If the data that Erufai is talking about, and based on, you can just go to Grok, go to AI, check out some of the polls about the ratings of Tinubu. You will know that it's difficult for him in the North. And they also must have done their own job. I mean, the Tinubu administration must have discovered also that the North is slipping away from their hands. And that is why they are doing everything possible to see how they can be able to balance the situation by winning more votes from the South. And how are they doing it? They are doing it by poaching governors from opposition parties to the APC, hoping that that will save the situation so that they can be able to win. Tinubu can get the 17 states in the South, so that he can be able to win 17 states in the South, to be able to make up for the votes he's about to lose from the North. But the fact of the matter is that the Tinubu's economic reforms, his administration's policies have not favored even the South. So the South are in pain, the North are in pain. So where is the pathway? Where is the pathway? Because having APC governors in the whole of the southern Nigeria, all APC, except all moving to APC except for one or two that readily come to my mind now. Adeleke in Oshun, who is now in Accord Party, and Governor Oti of Abia State, who still, and Governor Soludo of Anambra State, who is in Abga, but his hearts and minds are with the APC. So those are the few exemptions. So would that, having APC governors, would that translate to winning the hearts and minds of Southern Nigerians? That is a very difficult projection to make. But Tinubu is trying to use, given the Northern resentment that are growing, Tinubu is trying to use the templates of Goodluck Jonathan in 2011. That's the template he wants to use to be able to counter the votes he's going to lose in the North in 2027. But will it work? Tinubu is not Jonathan, and 2011 is not 2027. In 2011, Southern Nigeria were united. Southern Nigeria, they were united behind a Southern minority, Jonathan and Ejo. By providence, his principal, the president, Yaradua, died in office, having 1 year left in the administration. Jonathan, a minority, became president. And in 2011, he wanted to contest. And the North said, no, you can't contest. It is still the turn of the North to produce the president. But Jonathan and his supporters insisted that this is a golden opportunity for somebody from Niger Delta, the oil producing Niger Delta, the zone that has been feeding this country, the zone that is responsible for all the bridges and highways across Nigeria, that this is an opportunity for somebody from that zone, the zone that have given us all the developments we have in Nigeria in terms of infrastructure. It was the Niger Delta money that built Abuja, and is still building Abuja, that built Lagos. So by providence, a Niger Delta has now become president, and the South rallied together and said, no, even as the North was trying to push him out, they rallied around. So that was why in that election, there was Southern unity. There was Southern unity. And it was that Southern unity that helped Jonathan to win, even when the North didn't want him to win. How did Jonathan do it? Jonathan now won 16 out of the 17 Southern states, and then won in the battleground states of the Middle Belt, that's North Central. And that was how he became president. He was rejected by the core North, or the Islamic North, Northwest, Northeast. But Jonathan became president. So Tinubu is planning to do something like that in terms of harnessing all the South. But in Jonathan's own, it was a voluntary decision by the Southerners to ensure that an Ejo, a minority from the zone, you harness the opportunity of the death of the president to also have one of their own to be there. Interestingly, when the South was not united in 2015, the North was able to take back the power. And guess who was responsible for the South not being united? It was Tinubu. Tinubu at that time built political structure with the North and removed a Southern president, Jonathan. Today, you can say that the chicken has come home to roost. Tinubu now is trying to unite the South so that he could be able to continue to be in office, so that based on the anger in the North, he can be able to get the whole of the votes from the South. That's what he's thinking. And then get vote from the battleground states in the North Central. And then he can, like Jonathan, emerge, even if the North, the core North, Northwest, and Northeast didn't vote for him. That is the template he appears to be working on right now. Will it work? It cannot work. I can spend a lot of time explaining to you why it will not work, why 2011 is not 2027. Okay. Now, why is the North upset despite the vote they gave Tinubu? One of the things they have accused Tinubu government of is marginalization, lack of inclusivity. For instance, the Daily Trust did a report recently about budgetary allocation for infrastructure, for projects. And it was discovered that Lagos State alone, where Tinubu hails from, got more projects approved by Federal Executive Council than the Northwest, that has 7 states, Northeast, that has 6 states, Southeast, 5 states. All these, Lagos alone got more projects. Lagos alone got more projects than the whole of the South, the Niger Delta, the zone that produces the food, the resources that Nigeria use in funding its budget from oil. Lagos alone got more projects than the South. So these are the things that when they look at it, they say, no, we can't allow this man to continue. We have to vote him out in the coming election. Those are the things. And you look at, recently, they set up a gold refinery in Lagos. A gold refinery in Lagos. The government has denied, they say it's a private investment. It has nothing to do with the government. But the Northern elders are doubling down. They say they don't agree with the government. They are insisting that it was not right, that gold is being taken out from the soil or the grounds of Northern Nigeria, and they are taking it to Lagos to be processed. They are not buying into that story that it was a private venture. They are looking at it from the perspective that they were the ones that put this man there. Why is he treating us this way? Go and read the statement by the Northern Elders Forum. You'll be able to understand why it is difficult for the Tinubu administration to be able to carry the North like he carried in the last election. So, my friend, I hope we have been able to uh, address the issue of the coup plot, why the Nigerian mainstream media is not calling it what it is, a Northern Coup. And then we have been able to show that how this is also an indication of the Northern resentment against the government and how it's going to have an impact in the coming election unless the government was able to change its policies. And those policies are driven by the IMF and the World Bank, which makes it very difficult for the government to go back on them. And as long as those policies remain, and as long as the fallout from it is continue to exist, you can therefore understand the anger in the streets of northern Nigeria, and indeed the whole country, because the poll that was done to determine the approval rating of Tinubu was a nationwide poll. The only thing is that he got his highest disapproval rate in northern Nigeria and southeast Nigeria. But the whole country, he registered disapproval rates that is unprecedented in our history. I don't know what you think about the issue we have discussed, but the conversation continue even after this live. And if you are new to my channel, you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel, hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell. When you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, anytime I have a new video, you'll be among the first to know. God bless you. Now, as I come to the end of this conversation, the conversation continues at the comment section. Whatever is your view on this issue, on this topic, let's hear from you at the comment section. Thank you, and God bless you and yours.